LCARA Ham Radio invades the Cave City Hamfest 2023. That's what's coming up next on LCARA Ham Radio. Well, here we are, folks, walking in the front door, and you could really hear the excitement with all the folks that were here this year at the 2023 Hamfest here in Cave City. And right there with the ticket counter and the drop box for your ticket stub for the door prizes there on the left. And again, this is just the foyer. We immediately heard all the voices and excitement walking in the door. Already had a few tables set up out here, and this isn't even the main exhibition hall at the convention center. And we actually stumbled across here. You can see down there at the end of the picture, one of our very own members, Austin, AC4AG, had his own booth set up, or his own table anyway, selling some 3D printed 49-to-1s. And so stopped by there for just a moment. I know he sold a few of those and a couple of other 3D printed items there on the table. And so it was nice to see him there. In fact, we had quite a few, as you saw in the opening picture there. We had 17 or 18, maybe even one or two more of our members there. So really good turnout at the Hamfest this year. And so we're just about ready to go on into the main exhibition hall.
What's going on?
And these were the guys that actually set it up whenever they were down.
Oh, wonderful.
Talking about the time that y'all did the photos there, and the Civil Air Patrol cadets came down there.
Yeah, we had our local cadets come out, and they wanted to also practice some of their communication setup and so forth. So we did a POTA activation at Mill Springs.
Mill Springs, okay. So they probably were using the Motorola radios.
I believe they were, but we didn't focus on their radio equipment. We were focused more on POTA, but we were all working together a little bit.
Folks, it was really great to see the Civil Air Patrol set up here at the Cave City Hamfest. As you just heard, we did set up and do kind of a joint operation with some of the local cadets there in Pulaski County, and I hope to do some more of that kind of stuff because Civil Air Patrol and amateur radio are very complementary organizations. And so it was great to talk to Colonel Bryant, and we've got an interview with Colonel Bryant that'll be coming out a little bit later. But let's go ahead, now that we've taken a look at just the foyer to the Hamfest, let's go ahead and dive on into the main showroom, and that'll be coming up in the next segment. Well, here we are, folks, heading into the main hall here, and a good number of folks turned out this year. You know, we had some really severe weather the night before, and as did this area of the country, and a lot of power outages and trees blown over and things like that. So it was good to see that, you know, there was a good number of folks who showed up this year despite all of that. So here we are coming in, a lot of the vendors that we've seen before and that people tend to like to see. Hamfests are a good opportunity to stock back up on a lot of those pieces and parts, all the different kinds of hardware that we typically burn through, especially during the winter months, working on various projects and things. I know our club president, AC4DM, Don, we tend to do that as a club, and he tends to do that. You know, it gets kind of cold, you're not sort of outside quite as much, and you start kind of burning through all kinds of projects, and all that nuts and bolts and various forms of hardware just starts to disappear. So it's good to get out and stock back up on wire and connectors and all kinds of stuff that we need. And of course, sometimes you can come across a nice deal on a classic piece of equipment, dare I say vintage, or just even something new, you know, that's lightly, gently used. You know, it was funny because as we were walking up to the door this year, I saw people pretty much immediately walking out with some gear already. They walked in and immediately saw something they couldn't leave without, and immediately bought it and turned around and took it back to the vehicle and went back in potentially for some more. So yeah, we're just checking it all out again. Saw a lot of the vendors that we've seen, I think before. And there's our president and secretary. Again, he was already had a bag and was picking up a few more things to stock up on. So just checking out the rest of the hall. Again, you'll typically find all kinds of vintage gear, all kinds of other stuff for sale, wire and antennas and connectors and radios and everything. And so if you're looking for a newer or a slightly older unit, you can always just look around, keep your eyes open, see if you spot a good price on something. But it's also a good time to meet up with folks that we may not have seen for a while. Our club gets together fairly often for club meetings and our hands-on events once a month, and we have 2 work days a month, different things like that. But there are still times where there's certain people we just don't see that often. But a lot of times they'll come out for, things like these relatively local Hamfest. And you may see other folks from around your area that you normally just talk to on the radio through a repeater or something. And you can catch up with them at an in-person Hamfest like this. So look around, check the ARRL website, and you can find the Hamfest nearest to you. And if you've never been to one, go to one or two, check them out. You don't have to spend any money. It can just be sort of a nice time out and, getting around other like-minded folks who are in the same hobby as you and might make some new friends, or again, maybe meet some folks you've only heard their voice on the radio. So yeah, checking out the antennas and stuff. One of our members bought an analyzer. And of course, with all this stuff sitting around, we were actually able to test the analyzer and make sure it appeared to be functioning normally. Of course, the vendor thought it did, but all the antennas and stuff, we could just hook it right up, and we're able to test it out. So he got a decent deal on that. And again, whatever you might need, power cables or ferrite beads, or of course, almost any kind of a connector you can think of, spools and links of cable. So some of those hard to find parts, you can usually find them at a Hamfest, and it helps support the local economy. And there's usually a club who's sponsoring the Hamfest, and you're going to help those folks out as well. And of course, there's usually some door prizes and things. And I know at least one of our members won a little door prize this year. So you just never know. So we're just checking out all the goods and services, and that's the Mammoth Cave Ham Club, and of course they had all the tickets and everything, and we're picking door prize winners there at the front of the hall. So yeah, we're just checking out all the booths, checking out again. If you go to a few of these events, you'll tend to start to recognize some of the vendors that typically work your area. And there in the back corner, can't really see them right there, but in that far back left corner is usually a pretty good sized booth, and that's where a vendor sets up that has a sewing machine, so they can do embroidery. You can get a hat or a shirt or something and have your name or call sign put on the article of clothing and that kind of stuff. And they're almost always set up there in the back corner, and they were again this year. So it's always nice to see when vendors can make it back. Again, we had some severe weather just the night before, so it's pretty lucky that the fest was able to go on at all. So yeah, the Mammoth Cave Amateur Radio Club was helping to sponsor the Cave City Hamfest, of course, right there for them. So just taking a good look around at all the stuff, and you find all kinds of stuff. It's kind of a bit of a flea market, but most things are ham radio related, but not everything. You'll see all kinds of other stuff, and again, you never know. Your eye may spot something. Tower Electronics was there. They had a big booth there in the middle of the hall. Of course, you've got the the rubber duck, or in this case, the rubber chicken. As IT folks, sometimes we would make jokes about having to get out the rubber chicken and do a special dance or something to hopefully get a piece of equipment to start functioning again. So yeah, just taking a pretty good look at the hall. Again, it was a pretty good turnout, I think, considering. Not quite as big as last year, especially the outside part, which we'll see in a moment. But considering how severe the weather was that had just gone through the night before, I think it was actually a pretty good turnout. And I think a lot of us, we like to intend to look for these opportunities to, again, get back with folks that may not have seen for a while, and restock on our hardware and things. There's that analyzer that KK4YUG Steve caught his eye, and he ended up walking home with that. And again, there was antennas and things all over the place, so we were able to hook it up and check it out. It had fully brand new batteries and stuff, and it seemed to work just fine. So picked up a pretty good deal on a nice MFJ analyzer there. So again, if you haven't been to the Hamfest, again, you can check on, just do a regular search on the old interwebs, and you can usually find info on them, but you can go to the ARRL website, and they have a directory of the Hamfests around the country, and of course dates and times and things and locations of where those are. So you can hopefully find one not too far. Now this particular one is it's sort of one of those medium-sized ones in our region. For a lot of us, it's just a little ways away. For me, it's about 2 hours, maybe a little bit over, about that hour and a half, 2 hours for a few folks. But again, it's a little bit more medium-sized. There's one or two smaller ones that we sometimes go to that are closer to where I am, where we are. And then, of course, there's the big ones, and we're hoping and looking to go to the next big one for this year, which will be Hamvention. Probably just about the granddaddy of the ones here in the U.S., up in Xenia, Ohio, and that's coming up in not too long. And I know Brian and I are going to go up to that one, KY4BDP, and we'll probably have a few of our members go to that one. Again, it's maybe for me 2.5 hours or so away, but again, it's a really big one, and just about the biggest in the nation, I think. So. If you ever get a chance to go to that one, I mean, it's an experience, let me tell you. Well, folks, we'll start to wrap this one up. We're out here checking out the outdoor stuff. Not quite as big as some years past, but again, considering the weather that had just gone through, because there were areas all in Kentucky and some other states that were still without power this morning, so it was fortunate that the convention center here still had power and was still able to hold the event. And there weren't too many down trees and things. So we'll see you folks in the final segment. All right, folks, that's going to wrap up this yearly visit to the Cave City Hamfest 2023. Lots of LCARA folks in attendance. We had a great time, went out to some lunch after we were leaving about noon, a little after. And good number of folks out this year, even after some bad weather. So we'll see you folks in the next video, 73.